you can go back and reformat some of those memories and put a more positive light on them, so they don't hold you back so you can go live your dreams and be the person that, God built you to be.
He'll try his best not to disturb us too much, but
yeah, it's okay. I got one behind the green screen on the bed too.
Yeah, he loves attention. He loves it.
Yep.
So just take us back and tell us a little bit about kind of your childhood and what brought you to this point in life. Whether it be the good, the bad,
I was under the impression we only had an hour, but okay.
Give me
I'm
the version of it,
I'm an old man now. I'm older than your parents, I promise. More likely, it was my son's going to be 25 this summer. So,
well, I have an older sister who's 39. So,
oh, okay. Well, then
maybe got beat by a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. So, as I said when we started, I was raised in the state of Michigan for most of it. My parents divorced when I was 7, which was way back in 1974 when divorce wasn't such a common thing. So I was probably one of 2 or 3 kids I knew that was parents were divorced growing up for a long time anyways. Moved around a little bit, moved to Tampa, Florida in 77. Lived there for about, I don't know, maybe 7-8 months we lived there. Mom moved us back to our hometown. I grew up 80 miles north of Detroit in a real small little farming community. One stoplight, 1,500 people, very tiny.
Wow.
Then my freshman year of high school, so I'd be like 80, 81, we moved to Nashville. So when we lived there about 4 months, my mom moved us back again to our little hometown. Then my junior year, we moved to a town on the St. Clair River, which is about an hour and 45 minutes east of where I grew up at, called Marysville. And I finished out high school there. And a couple months before I graduated, my parents, my stepdad and my mom said they were moving down here to Florida and they wanted me to come, and I wanted to go in the military, and I had an agreement, had all my papers drawn up to go, hadn't signed, but I had the agreement, and I wanted to be military police. I wanted to be a police officer since I was 14 years old. And my mom talked me out of it. Basically, she played the mom card. She's like, we're moving to Florida. We don't have anybody to help us unload the truck. When we get there, why don't you come to Florida, help us drive the car, and then, help us unload the truck. And then if you want to go in the military, you can go in from down there. So I guess she knew me better than I knew myself. I had a couple $1,000s in my pocket from graduation money, and met some neighbors who are around my age and started partying, hung out for the summer. And August came, and Mom said, well, of course she didn't bring up the military again because she didn't want me to go. Yeah. So she said, if you're not going to go to college, you better get a job. And so I did. And the last 35 years have just flown. So been here ever since. And that was Palm Beach County, Boynton Beach, Florida. And then, like I told you, a couple months later, I met my future ex-wife. We were together a total of 5 years, married 3. I ended up being a police officer in the city of Pompano Beach. Got divorced. A couple years later, met my wife I've been with now. So 30 years together, 27 married. And our son, Bryce, will be 25 this June, and he's my 50-50 business partner.
How did you meet your current wife?
She's in 911 dispatch, and I was a police officer. And so, funny little story, we had a shift party in Fort Lauderdale on one of our nights off, and she came, and I knew who she was, but I wasn't one of these cops that hung out in dispatch or anything like that. I just did my job and went home, basically. I mean, I had friends that were police officers, but I wasn't hanging around the building a lot. And I'd asked her to dance at a party, and she danced with me, but she spent the whole night looking at the door waiting for some guy she was supposed to meet there that night. And she doesn't remember dancing with me to this day. And then like a year and a half later goes by or whatever, and we're walking out at the same time. And she goes, "Who are you?" I'm like, "What do you mean, who am I? Like, you don't remember we shared this dance and we talked a couple different times or whatever." So it was kind of funny. And another police officer had recruited me into Amway. And so I was actually asked her to come to a opportunity meeting to check out Amway. I was trying to recruit her into Amway, and she had no interest in Amway, but obviously she was interested in me, and I didn't know that. I was kind of thick-headed, you know how us guys can be. So from there, we just ended up together probably within a month or so, and been together ever since.
That's awesome. I like that story. I like what
Yeah,
it's like a Jim and Pam story if you've ever watched The Office, which is probably a really corny reference, but
I've seen a couple episodes, but I've not watched the whole show. No, I'm not super into it or anything, but I know
um
the character.
so when you were a kid, you moved around a lot. Was that, tough on you? Some kids don't mind it. Like me personally, I was, born and raised in the same house until this one. So I would have loved to explore a little bit more during my childhood, but I can also see the downside of it.
Yeah, well, when I was 10, I hated it because I was being taken away from my family.
Hmm.
Uh, my big, the larger family, the cousins, the aunts, the uncles. When I was 14 and we moved to Nashville, I actually loved it. I hated the small little town I grew up in. I was bullied. I was picked on.
Okay.
My mom was adopted, so she's had her own mindset issues her whole life.
Hmm.
Always felt like the victim kind of thing, and unfortunately, she has dementia today. But she always raised me to walk away, never fight. And you know how mean kids can be. So if you don't stand up for yourself, you just become a target. So I was
Yeah.
bullied and picked on a lot. So when we moved out of that town, I actually had friends, and I didn't have no problems anymore because these kids don't remember me as the little baby that always ran away from fights in second grade, third grade. So you could kind of reinvent yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I didn't really want to go back. And had some issues, but then we moved again my junior. I had no more issues. I dated one of the more popular girls in school. I was co-captain of the wrestling squad my senior year. I mean, I had lots of friends, and actually closer to some of my best friends from that school that I was only at a year and a half than I am with any of the kids I ever really grew up with.
Okay.
Um, the whole life, which is funny. My best friend I met my first day at that new school in Michigan now lives 30 minutes south of me here in Florida and has for about 15 years.
Are you
Uh,
guys still really close?
yeah, we're super close. His kids are, his oldest daughter just went to college, so his kids are a lot younger. Or my
Okay.
son, like, so it's going to be 25. So we weren't exactly on the same social field, the social thing. His kids were still growing up. My son was going to college, kind of thing. But yeah, we get together and play golf every now and then. And actually, we just talked the other day for the first time, like in a month. But we live different lifestyles, but we still hang out, grab golf, grab lunch every now and then, just to say what's up and how's it going and all that. So
Yeah. I like those friendships where you're able to kind of just pick up where you left off. Doesn't really matter how or
right. Yeah,
where you
his
are.
mom and dad were mom and dad. My mom and dad were mom and dad to him. I mean, it was, it's, in matter of fact, my mom is in a nursing home now, but she ended up in the hospital New Year's Eve, and he went to visit her in the hospital and took her a flower and all that. So
That was really
it's
nice.
pretty cool.
So do you think that shaped you, your childhood kind of shaped you as a person? I mean, you talked about being able to reinvent yourself, but also the downside of learning, you have to flee a situation, feeling that you have to flee and not fight. Did you kind of have a switch in mentality at some point, or did you find a way to make it work? How did your childhood shape you?
Yeah, well, the divorce was the big deal, right? I mean, when my dad left or they broke up, my mom told him to left, depending on whose version you listen to, right?
Yeah.
Um, that was tough. That impacted me right up until the last uh, couple of years. I went to start going to therapy a little over 4 years ago and started getting straight on all of that, self worth issues, all that. I was lucky in a sense. I had a friend whose parents put him in boxing lessons, but there wasn't any other kids. It was just him and the instructor. So he had nobody his size. So they invited me to take boxing for free So he had somebody to basically beat up on. But I got to learn how to protect myself and learn how to box. And then I went into wrestling. So as I got older, I learned to defend myself, and that wasn't, that wasn't such a big deal anymore. But the self-worth issues, I never realized I had them because I went in to be my dream since I was 14, 15 was to be a police officer. And I got hired at 21, graduated the police academy a couple of days apart from being 22 years old, way back in 1989. And so I never knew that I had self-worth issues. I never knew that I had identity issues. I didn't know all that. But as I was going through being a police officer, I remember they told us in the academy that the average police career was like 12 to 14 years, like no more were people staying for full careers. It was, and I was like, no way. I've wanted to do this my whole life, right? And I want to get out. And I want to stay my whole life. And by about my 5th year, I started realizing it's not what I wanted to do the rest of my life. By my 7th year, I hated it. And my 12th year, I just quit. I just like, I'm done. I was full of depression. I didn't know it. You certainly weren't encouraged to ask for help. You got to be the tough guy. You got to whatever. But I was lacing up my boots, having nightmares that I was doing traffic stops and people were coming out shooting at me, lacing up my boots with tears coming down my eyes, I had a take home unit, walking to my patrol car, crying my eyes out, did not want to go to the job. Hated it, just hated it. And I think it was a combination of a lot of stuff. I liked the job itself. I liked being in the streets. I liked working with the community. That was cool. I hated the political back end stuff. And then I was becoming depressed, and I didn't know it. I didn't know what this was. I've had anxiety since I was a little kid. That I was comfortable with. But depression was a new feeling for me. And I don't remember exactly. So my son was maybe 2 or 3, and my wife and I weren't getting along so good. And finally she called me on it, and she's like, you're depressed and you need to get help because I can't really deal with this. And so I did. I went and got some medicine and stuff, which helped for a little bit. Then I ended up leaving the police career because it just wasn't my thing anymore. And eventually got all back off the medicine. And now through all these years later, growing, I've been out since 2001. So I've been out, actually be 21 years this month I've been out. And through all the years of growing and mindset and owning my own business and stuff like that, now I've got a pretty good handle on it. And I've come to realize that it's just kind of something I have, but it's not who I am. And I don't know how much of your audience deals with depression or anxiety, but the way I deal with it is I'll just feel like a wave of sadness come over me, or I'll feel stuck. But now I know I have it. So if I just sit quietly with it, and try not to get too wrapped up in it, I know eventually, it'll leave. And now it's not months and months or even years like it used to be. Now it's, might be a few minutes to a day or two at the most. And then I kind of pass through it and get back with my life again, which is an awesome feeling.
Okay. So is it like a form, would you consider it to be like a form of meditation?
No, not, I do meditation, but no, not for that. Just, again, I just know it's coming, or I know when it's going to come on, or I feel it. And I know that I'm going to get through the other end of it if I just sit quietly with it and let it go. Okay. So getting through it's been a combination of A, going back to church, B, the support from my wife, which she's the reason I'm back in church. So I guess you want to say it starts with God, right? But I guess in this case, it kind of started with her getting me back in church. And then God, church, and then therapy, and then networking groups such as the one that I know Velco through.
Okay, I like that. What's what are your, I guess, tips, I guess, that you've learned throughout the years help get you through the darker points, help them shorter?
Well, for me, I understood that, I've learned that it all starts in childhood. So through not only this group, through my therapy, but through some other coaching I had back in like 2014, 2015, I learned that we all have these identities that are created in us, right? And they're usually started in childhood. They can really be created anytime, but usually in childhood. And they're created to protect us from some kind of traumatic experience or multiple traumatic experiences. We might have multiple identities. And they literally stop our central nervous system from shutting down, and they keep us alive. especially if we experience stuff real traumatic, cases of feeling of abandonment, self-worth, sexual abuse, physical abuse, whatever. So they're great as protectors of children, but as we become adults, they still shut us down, which then hold us back from going on to be what we want to be.
Yeah. That's really important for people to learn, as much as your childhood makes you who you are, you don't have to let it define you. You don't have to stick with it forever. It doesn't have to be the problems that you deal with as a young child don't have to be the problems that you deal with when you're 65 or 85 or 95. You can grow. You don't have to change as a person, but you can grow as a person. There's a difference between the two.
Yeah, it's really important that you go back and do the hard work, right? And deal with that stuff and regrow that inner child back up in a way. So we call it self-parenting. So
Okay.
not only have I done lots of exercises, I have some NLP stuff I do with my clients and things like that, and my exercises I've done with my therapist and things like that. But probably one of the coolest things I ever did was a visualization technique where I took big Jamie, growing up Jamie, took little Jamie by the hand. So I saw myself as a 7-year-old, visualized myself standing there crying, upset, dad just left, whatever, right? And then I just had this little conversation showing lots of love and compassion for little Jamie. And I just said, okay, dude, listen, like, I understand you went through some stuff as a child and your perception was nobody was there to help you. And it was scary and you couldn't rightly express yourself. You didn't feel secure in those moments. Well, we're going to kind of relive those situations, but this time my adult self is going to help my little self relive those situations, but this time with the love, the security, the protection. You're not going to go through it with that feeling of aloneness again. And your brain literally doesn't know the difference between what happened and what you tell it that happened. And so you can go back and reformat some of those memories and put a more positive light on them so they don't hold you back so you can go live your dreams and be the person that, God built you to be.
Yeah, I really like that kind of just remolding what you've already lived through and giving
Right.
yourself support. Because your mind doesn't know the difference. You can trick your mind into so many things. So you might as well do it for good. So many people trick it into feeling anxious or worried or, what's going on in my house or what's going on with my car. And they're in a whole different situation in life. It's because they've tricked their mind into doing that. And so you can maybe trick it for the better.
100%.
You talked a little bit about starting a business with your son. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, well, let me fill in the gaps. So again, I left police department in 2001. I had enough. I was in a multi-level marketing company. I was going to be a millionaire. Yay. That didn't really work out. So I was floundering around that for a few months. I had a little bit of money backed up. I actually just took my pension and cashed it and lived off that for a long time. And my brother-in-law was a partner in a commercial real estate firm. And he's like, just go get your real estate license and come work for me. Yeah. So I did. And I was in Fort Lauderdale down there by you. And I was in commercial real estate for, 2001 through the end of 2001 through 2006. Again, it just really wasn't me, right? At the time, I thought it was, the old police officer, me not being able to deal with the civilian population, right? I blamed it on not being able to deal with rich people and their arrogant attitudes, which is me, because we filter anything we see in other people is always in us, right? So now I know that, but I didn't know that then. I just couldn't. I made a living, but I just didn't love it. And then on top of that, my brother-in-law was supposed to be my mentor, but he, unfortunately, we didn't know it, but he was drinking himself to death until we had like 2 weeks notice, and then he passed. So his partners were great to me, his other 4 partners, but they were kind of stuck with me. Like, he brought me in, he was supposed to train me. But they made sure I made a living, which was cool. But eventually I just found out it wasn't me. So I had the opportunity to start my own business with a partner, and we did really well. It was a field inspection business where we kind of represented banks and mortgage companies and took pictures and reports. And we lasted a year as partners, then decided we were better friends than we were partners. And so that was 2006. And he just actually came up from Fort Lauderdale yesterday, and we played golf and had lunch. So he drove the hour and 45 minutes up here yesterday.
Nice.
So we're still great friends today. So 2007 went out on my own. I took Palm Beach County. He took Broward County, because that's where he lived then, and I lived up in Palm Beach. And we did the same business, but we just referred business back and forth. Ran that through 2011. Business got slow. Made some good money with it. It wasn't a millionaire, but made good money. And then my wife said, "Hey, you going to rebuild your business or go get a job, because things are slow." So I was kind of tired of working on my own. And even though Facebook was out, I wasn't on it yet. And it was kind of a lonely job, right? It was just me and my truck and going from inspection to inspection to inspection all day. So I decided to go sell cars and have a little more of a social life. So I did that from the end of 2011, worked at a dealership in Delray Beach for, I don't know, from November through May. Didn't like it. Didn't like the company. Didn't like the supervisors there, the managers. Ended up going to another dealership up in the north end of Palm Beach County. It was a much better fit for me. Loved that. But eventually I just hated the hours. So I was used to working for myself. I had been self-employed essentially since 2001. Commercial real estate, you set your own hours, of course. Hated working nights and weekends and all that. But I had an idea to start an auto broker business where you represent the car buyer. And so my wife asked me what the idea was and how that was going to work out. And I told her I didn't know, but I was going to stay in the business long enough to learn it so I could go do this. So about 3 years in, I left up for a promotion, but I quit and I started my auto broker business November 1st of 2014. And I ran that all the way through December of 2019. But then in July of 2019, my son was a senior down at Florida Atlantic University down there in Boca. And he blew his knee out in a freak accident. And so he needed reconstructive surgery. So he was still going to college on his crutches and stuff, but he couldn't work his part-time job anymore. So I just said, "Hey, you want to start a marketing company?" And he's like, "Do what?" And I'm like, "You want to start a marketing company with me? You want to be my partner in a marketing company?" He's like, "How do we do that?" And I'm like, "I don't know. We'll figure it out. But you're home. I'm working from home. Every entrepreneurial father or mother maybe wants to do something with their child, right?" So I'm like, "Sure, Dad, we'll do that." So we started a marketing company, and we did some websites and some Shopify sites and some different stuff. We kind of learned how to do it, but again, it just wasn't the calling, right? It just wasn't us. I think the last thing this world needs is somebody else to build $5,000 websites. The world's full of those people, right? And I didn't want to compete with that. So we floundered around for a little while, just trying to figure it out. And then I just always had this calling just to help people. I was a police officer, obviously. Anybody's police, firefighters, nurses. You go to a job interview, they always say, "What do you want the job?" They always say, "I want to help people," right? What I learned through my coaching and stuff is that the reason we want to help people is because we went through some shit as children and we didn't feel like nobody was there to help us. So we want to help others. So anybody that's a coach, firefighter, cop, nurse, doctor, paramedic, most of the time it's because they went through some serious crap as kids. But let's face it, all of us went through crap as kids. It's just your perception, right?
Yeah.
So we just started pivoting, and then I don't know, coming in the end of 2020. Just started feeling the calling, started putting the consulting gig together. Just kept the company name, which is ABCS Promotions, because we already had it as partners. And then my son had gone back, got his fitness certificate, became a fitness instructor at a Planet Fitness. He was doing that after his knee healed up and stuff. And then last year, I learned about this thing called visionaries and integrators. And visionaries like me, there's 4 of us to every 1 integrator in the real world. And visionaries, we can see it. We can see how it's all supposed to happen, but we're not great at taking action on getting it done. And we also have severe shiny object syndrome. Like we have a million ideas and we just jump from one to another. Well, that was me classic. But I had this little epiphany one day. I realized that my son was a classic integrator. Right. He was the kid that led all the high school group projects. He was always the leader. And then I noticed in college, he was always the leader in all the group projects. And if he wasn't the leader when the project started, he was the leader time that the project finished. And he was the one that was behind the scenes, always getting stuff done. Well, he got that from his mother, not from me.
Yeah.
So last spring, I just said, "Hey, I need you to take a chance and quit your job and come back and join me full time and be my integrator. Take half the company. You were already a partner, anyways, and let's kick this thing in the butt." And so he thought about it for a couple weeks, and he came back and he gave me a start date of June 14th, and he's been full time with me since.
That's awesome. That's awesome. How's business doing? Are you guys kind of catching
Yeah,
on?
yeah, we're very blessed.
Awesome.
We went from nothing. I mean, nothing. 50, 53, 54 years old, $100 in my checking account, nothing. To we had a very good summer, a little quieter in the winter, and then January was rough because I had aortic heart valve replacement December 23rd. Full time caregiver for my mother. We moved up here to Fort Pierce to take care of her, and then she went in the hospital New Year's Eve. So I don't count the month of January. But February we had a great February. Bunch of stuff in the pipeline for March. And then through all this, once I launched the one-on-one and that took off and we started signing clients, we developed a done for you organic marketing system because I was learning from my clients that no matter how well we coached them and no matter how well it was working, they were still completely overwhelmed. So we developed a very high ticket, completely done for you 20 touch point organic marketing system on 1 year contracts where we do everything. We produce their podcasts, we ghostwrite their book, we take over their Google My Business, we run their Facebook group, we put 24/7 live chat, we send a video team out to record 100 mini commercials for them throughout the year. It's a whole package. And literally, it gives these business owners, more freedom, less stress.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
but because of the high ticket, we target companies that are over 2 to 5 million a year in sales, and they want to go to 10.
Yeah.
And 2 to 5 million is easy to find. It's the people that want to go to 10 that's the tough part because most people at 5 million plus they're comfortable.
Yeah. They don't want to. They don't want to risk anything.
Right. So we're trying to show them like how we can take you to 10, and we take over their hiring process for them, everything. We screen their candidates, we do their hiring funnels, we do all that. So we show them that look, it's really not that much more. Actually, the idea is to make it less work for you while you're still growing. That's why we created the whole system.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly.
But we just keep evolving and learning, and then from that, there's somebody got a hold of me and said, "How come you don't have digital courses?" And I said, well, in my mind, I know 80% of the people that buy digital courses don't actually complete them. Right. And then he's like, oh, yeah, but what about the people that can't afford your one-on-one? What about that one person that does complete it? So you change their life. Right. So I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, so we have the back end done of a digital course. We just have to do the filming for it. So that'll be coming out soon. So
Yeah.
keep evolving and learning and growing.
Exactly, exactly. If you aren't changing or if you're not willing to change, that's where you're going wrong. You don't have to change, but if you're not willing or you're not looking to learn, that's where you're stepping
You
off.
know, yeah, I always tell people you do you, right? You do what you got to do. That's you. Like I got a buddy that, he's certainly not wealthy by any means. He's my best motorcycle riding buddy. We've ridden 10, 15,000 miles together over the last years. Um, and he's happy, right? He lives in a mobile home, but it's paid for. He makes his living buying and selling stuff off of eBay, basically, or flipping. He's also a drummer in a band, so he flips a lot of musical instruments and that kind of stuff. He flips motorcycle parts. He maybe once in a while takes a paint job, but he survived cancer twice, so his best life to him is being on his motorcycle as much as he can. And he
Yeah,
doesn't have this big dream to be a billionaire or nothing, and that's cool. Like I'm happy for him. That's his thing. I love my motorcycle. I like to play golf horribly. I don't like to play horribly. I do play horribly. I like to play golf. But my biggest dream is to grow this thing to a point where we can buy up defunct hospitals and house homeless families in them and
that'd
give
be
them the
awesome.
proper treatments and medications and or whatever they need, support them to get back on their feet and get back out in society again, take them off the street. Too many starving children in America. Um, so that's one of our big dreams. And that, yeah, we want nice things too. And we have our own personal goals. But that's our big dream. That's what we're really pushing for every day is ultimately to leave a legacy by opening up these homeless shelters for families.
That's amazing. I'd love to see that happen. I would love to. Oh gosh, I kind of like right now because I was watching some sort of video on social media. I'm not sure, Instagram, Facebook, whatever. And it was he was helping out a homeless person. He kind of goes around asking people for help, and whoever helps him first, he I hate to say rewards because it shouldn't be like, oh, you get this for behaving kind to a human, but he does. He rewards them. And it's usually people who need it, or at least look like they need it, in my opinion. And he hands them $500 or $1,000 or $5,000. And it's just amazing because that whether it's $20, you're changing something in them. You're changing either their viewpoint, what they're eating today, if they even can eat, where they're staying tonight, their family. You know what I mean? Like you're changing something in their life. And I was watching those videos, and I feel like a lot of times when you see good things happen to other people, you're like, I wish I was that person. I wish I was receiving that cool thing. Like in this case, it was the complete opposite. It was like, man, I wish I was giving somebody $500 in cash. Like I didn't want to be handed. No, I wish I was giving it to somebody because that feels so much better. Feels so much better to know that you're changing somebody's day or helping them in some type of way.
Yeah, giving is we have this thing we have the saying that givers get, right? Or be a go giver, which if you've never read the book Go Giver is an awesome book. Um, but yeah, definitely it feels really good to give. We started I started a tradition years ago. It's funny, I didn't even tell my wife for like 5 or 6 years until I filled her in on it because I don't really believe in bragging too much about what you do. But my mindset's changed on that, right? We might as well just cover that real quick. Like there's the double side. Like people say, well, you're bragging, right? If you're saying what you do and you should keep it a secret. But on the other hand, if you tell people what you do, maybe you inspire them to do something.
Exactly, exactly. There's a fine
So,
line between it, and it
right.
also depends on the how they're perceiving it. You can perceive it two different ways too.
Yeah. So usually what we do, I couldn't do it last year because I had heart surgery, but on the 23rd, but on Christmas Eve, we pull $100 out of the ATM and we drive around and we look for somebody, maybe a mom or something that's working on Christmas Eve. Or one night it was a guy selling flowers in the intersection of Dixie Highway down there in West Palm Beach on Christmas Eve. And we just pull over and give them the $100 cash.
Hmm.
And just to see, just say it, we just walk up, say this is for you, and we walk away, and just to see
Yeah,
their like the shock and the look and their smile. And look, if you're working on Christmas Eve, in my opinion, you probably need $100. You probably could use $100.
yeah. Whether it's just for your emotional stability, your emotional well-being or your financial well-being.
Right.
It's always nice to know you're some appreciated, respected,
Yep. So
deserving.
just to help people, little things like that, we try to do that as much as possible. But what I've really grown in, what really is, I think, has been one of the keys to our success, and where I've really started to grow in is in my tithing with my church, and really just growing substantially, and watch God's rewards come in. Crazy stuff, just crazy. One of the businesses we have is we resell security cameras that have 24/7 live protection on them, actual security guards monitoring for residential, which is kind of unheard of. There's lots of kind of stuff out there, but you can actually put cameras on where the guard is watching, so they can intervene real time in any crime. They can speak to the bad guy. They can manually set off an alarm. They can call your local police department and give a real live description as the crime is happening. So it's a really, really cool system. And we've been tithing for a long time, but we were tithing off the net, right? Not the gross. And it had been bothering me, like it was something I wanted to do. But to jump and make a commitment from tithing off the net to the gross is a car payment.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily an easy thing. And I just made a silent this particular Sunday. I just made a silent commitment to start tithing off of the gross. The next opportunity that we had money come in, and a half hour later, I was offered the opportunity to provide all the security cameras for our church.
Wow.
And I was like, well, I haven't done it yet. Like, holy wow, And then business just keeps coming. And now, actually, what's coming out of that is another business opportunity to write grants, not for me, from the guy that's going to be my partner, to provide security cameras for churches all over the nation, that the grants will pay for.
Oh, wow. That's so cool.
So we'll be able to put security cameras in, and my partner will write all the grants or put a team together to write the grants, and we'll do all the installs. So it's a pretty easy sale because they don't have to pay for it.
Wow, wow.
And
The Lord works in mysterious ways.
yeah, it's pretty cool when you just open it up. So that's been probably the biggest increase out of giving. It's just being fully committed to that tithing, even on the times when you can't afford it. That's probably one of the biggest things that's changed my life recently.
Wow. Yeah, yeah. Giving even when you think you can't.
Right.
Yeah,
100%.
yeah. So what's your I know you said you want to continue growing and you want to continue growing this company. What's your next step? What's your next plan? And also, like, what do you think the next challenge you're going to have to face will be?
So being a little bit older, right? I'm not a 20-year-old grinder anymore. When I got hired as a police officer, I was working three jobs, the full time and two 20+ hour week jobs. So I was putting in 80+ hours, 90 hours a week, some cases. Um, I'm going to be 55 this summer. Those days are over for me. Thank God. But so what we do is we built the Done For You out. We've hired a sales team. We've hired a director of sales, a director of operations. So once that becomes more automated and in full swing, it's actually pretty easy from here. I don't have to put a lot of time into that anymore. And that produces enough income to let us go launch our next thing. So one of my clients is a couple of my clients are roofers, but this one particular client only lives 45 minutes north of me. So we're going to expand his roofing company down here to the Treasure Coast. So it's Indian River, St. Lucie, Martin counties, as his partners down here. And then we're going to combine solar and the security cameras with it. So we're going to have a roofing, solar, and security camera company, and we're just going to repeat the process, right? We'll get it started. We'll get some interest. We'll hire some sales folks. We'll get the roofing crews to do the work, and then we'll put a director of sales, a director of operations in place, or a project manager. And then after that, I think we're going to open a paint contractor supply companies on the list. And then we have like 7 other companies we want to open, but the process is always the same, right? You get it going, you get some interest, you put some sales reps in, you put the people in place to fulfill it. You get them to buy into the dream. You take care of them. You make sure that they're well compensated and make sure they know they're loved, make sure they know they're cared for. Their families come first. Companies will run themselves as long as you just keep supporting them and keep them growing. And then we're just going to keep opening and growing. And the dream is to ultimately have pieces of 100 companies.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Well, whether that happens in my lifetime, or if not, then my son will continue it, or what. But at least I know I'm building legacy for my son and his children and their children, and so on and so forth.
Your family will be stable for generations to come if it continues to be built like this.
Yeah, that, and then ultimately the Done For You is being built to sell. We already know the number, and it's 100 million to sell that, 3 to 5 years hopefully, and we have some small partners in that, so it's not all ours. And then I think we'll take that and we'll dump that into multifamily housing, and then put property management on it. So we always have that feeder stream of income coming in.
Yeah, yeah. It's always smart to have, you're looking at land, right? Like to have property.
Yeah, apartment buildings.
That's something that will never go away.
Right, exactly. 32 unit apartment buildings, whatever, 60 unit apartment buildings, whatever. I think that's the ultimate goal. My dad is a real estate investor, and he owns quite a few homes, but they're all single family. And at 74 years old, I watch him. He's got them pretty much unlocked now, but I watched him for years bust his butt dealing with individual tenants and moving in, moving out, and replacing the carpet and painting. And I'm just like, man, just buy multifamily and put property management on it and go about your business.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's my next goal right now. Right now, obviously in Florida, there is no buying property for me. Like, it's not going to happen unless I'm going inland and want to live with the snakes and stuff like that. There's no luck out here. But in a lot of other states right now, I actually have my parents looking at a couple places in Southern Illinois. just because I'm thinking about just having a place to go. I miss my family. They're all still in Illinois. So I'm like, I'd like to go and be able to live up there and also come down here in the winters. I'll be a young snowbird, one of those, 65-year-old retirees that just follows the sun wherever it goes.
Yeah, my son's big thing right now, he's excited about is the Airbnb stuff.
Yeah.
So I have a meeting this afternoon with somebody that coaches people how to get into the Airbnb and do arbitrage and all that with it. So I understand the fundamentals of it, but it doesn't really excite me, but excites my son. They travel a lot. They do Airbnbs a lot. So he's going to teach my son Airbnbs, and I'm going to coach him on how to build his coaching business.
Nice.
So we have that call this afternoon. So we'll hopefully that'll all work out. And that's probably the next immediate thing, because as my integrator, my son's not working. He's making good money, but he's not working 60 hours a week. I mean, if we're being honest, we're both probably putting in I'm putting in probably 30, but he's putting in about 15, 20 maybe. He helps with other things too. So he's like, Dad, I got some free time. He's like, I'd love to build out this Airbnb stuff on the backside of for us. So I'm like, okay, cool. So we'll set that up. And
it's really thriving, and it has been for like 5 years.
Yep.
It's only getting better.
So we'll probably get involved with that, I guess, and probably try to get some units here under contract in the next 90 days or so, and get going forward with that, and see what happens.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your mistakes, or like something that not necessarily you would do differently if you went back, you know what I mean? But something that you're not going to do again.
Okay. Yeah. So well, obviously, I always regretted not going in the military, even though, some could say, I guess I served being a police officer, right? But I regretted not going in the military. But then again, it's hard to say you regret it because I wouldn't have my wife or my son, right? Life would have been drastically different, obviously.
Yeah.
So, I'm a big believer life happens for you, not to you. And again, God knows the plan that I've been walking. And although I didn't know it for a long time, right? So what happens when you come up out of trauma, when you reach for love outside of your own body, you look for validation elsewhere. It always manifests itself in one of a couple of different ways, right? So it's usually alcoholism, drugs, illicit narcotics, inappropriate sex, food, workaholism, things like that. Right now, some people might say procrastination, but procrastination is really a byproduct of that stress. You shut down, right? Never much of an alcoholic or much of a drinker. I had my time in the sun when I was young, but I kind of outgrew that. I don't really drink too much. Obviously, being a police officer, drugs were never my thing. But as you can plainly see, food has been a big issue for me, and that's something I still struggle with. I've gained and lost more weight than I could count over the years, and I'd lost 40 plus pounds in I don't know 105 days last year, and then I found it all plus some because they told me I couldn't work out anymore when they found I needed heart valve replacement. So I was like, well, if I can't work out, I might as well eat what I want. So I gained it back. So that's my next personal struggle, is to get this weight back off again. I'm still 30 pounds lower than my highest ever, but I'm about 50 pounds higher than my lowest in a long time. So I want to get that weight back off. And then through reaching outside of my own self for the thrill or that love that I felt like I was missing for a long time. I wasn't being the husband that I was supposed to be. And I sat my wife down on January 28, 2018 and did a lot of confessing and asking for help. And we ended up, that's how we ended up in therapy, and we put our marriage back together. And so obviously I don't ever want to go back to living that life again. So it's just being aware of what's driving these behaviors, and why we reach for certain things. Again, it's usually always childhood. If I work with adult women and they have an identity that comes up at, after 13 to 16 to 24, obviously, I don't get into their personal business. I don't need to know what the trauma was, but it's a pretty easy, educated guess of what the trauma was somewhere along the way. Right. So these identities definitely can be created older and to protect us and keep us from shutting down. but they're usually in childhood. So again, just being aware of why you're doing things. Why are you drinking too much? Why are you using drugs? Why are you eating too much? Why are you having inappropriate sexual relationships? Why are you, whatever it is that you're not doing the right thing, you're not being the ultimate best version of yourself, figuring out what the why is, and then how can you overcome it and stop doing that so you can go be the person that, you were birthed to be.
Yeah. 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 Well, I like hearing what you have to say. Just you seem like a strong person who's not afraid to admit um, your history. I mean, just your life and the good and the bad, and where you've thrived and where you may have had lower points. And I think that's really important, just to be honest with yourself, and have the ability to put yourself out there and be honest with others, because that's what helps other people grow, is that the audience watching this is possibly going through the same thing, and they just have to, yeah, take the hand of their 7-year-old self or 12-year-old self and relive it, or remember it, if that's a word. um but yeah, so I really like what you had to say about that.
Well, one of the things, just to finish that thought, is that the mentor in this group that Velko and I are in together, called Apex, is Ryan Stewman. The mentor says all the time, if you tell your story, nobody else can tell it for you.
Like,
So if you're coming up through life and people may think or suspect or guess you're doing this, you're doing that, and they want to whisper and gossip about you or whatever, right? Oh, he's doing that or he's doing that. Even if they don't know the whole truth, they make it up, right? Because it makes them feel better about their own miserable lives, because they don't want to deal with their own problems, which is the truth. That's where gossip comes from, right? But once you just start telling your story and you get free from it, you're like, yeah, I did this. Okay. I know, my wife knows, God knows, I went and got help for it. Things are good now. She forgave me and we've moved on with our life. Now, what do you got to say? You got nothing to talk about, right?
yeah.
I've taken your power away from you. So that's getting your own power back. Yeah, I'm fat. I know I'm fat. I have a mirror. I eat too much. Duh. Like that's my emotional outlet right now. Like, what are you going to say? I'm fat? No shit. I have a mirror. Like I said, right? I'm doing my best to get a handle on it.
Yeah,
What's
you can
that?
use it towards yourself. You know what I mean? When you're talking negatively about yourself, you can just, yeah, and
Yeah.
you know what I mean? I've admitted this out loud. I've told this person, and do you really think I care? You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, I don't care. Take it back. You know what I mean? Like,
We're all human. We're all trying to do the best we can. We're all trying to get through this life, and only one perfect man ever walked this earth, and they put him on a cross for it. So,
mm-hmm.
no.
Yeah, yeah. Our mistakes are our blessings, and our past is
Yep.
a novel in its own.
Right.
It tells its own amazing story of triumphs and losses. I'm really excited to see what the future holds for you. It
I
looks
appreciate that. Thank you.
it's very bright. And I'm also, I mean, just amazing that you're doing this with your son, and that you seem to be a wonderfully supportive father, and ensuring that your son at least doesn't have to go through the same traumatic events that you had to go through as a young child. Maybe there's other things, but at least not the same things, or some of them aren't the same.
Yeah, we tell him all the time his next therapy is on us. But I wished I'd known this when he was born. I wished I had started to end this generational sin when he was a little baby. Unfortunately, I didn't start really coming around until 6-7 years ago and start figuring this out. And he was maybe like a junior, senior in college when I started to get my life back together. Not college, in high school. Sorry. So, but we've been open. We've had the discussions. We've been open with him. We've been honest about our mistakes. And, we just try to tell him, look, just be aware of it. This is in your blood. This is in your lineage. This is in your history, right? A lot of this stuff goes back beyond me, his grandfather, his great grandfather, whatever, on either side. So on any sides. So, just tell him, hey, just be aware of it so you don't make the same mistakes. And, he's on the right path. He's been with his girlfriend 7 years, first girlfriend, her first boyfriend.
Wow.
They're together forever. Everybody knows it. They're not in a rush. They're not trying to have kids. They're not even engaged yet. They're just committed, and they're just enjoying their traveling. She just got a new job in a hospital this week, and they're just trying to live their life and enjoy it. And they already know, like, he's going to be 25, she's going to be 24 this summer. Like, they don't even not even thinking about kids for another 3 to 5 years,
Yeah,
probably.
there's no need.
Right. They're just trying to enjoy their life and travel. I think they're going out to Yellowstone in May or something. And
Oh, it's beautiful out there. I
yeah,
love
they're just trying to do different things. They travel a lot. They take a lot of vacations. And so, and this business keeps growing. That affords them the opportunity to do what they want to do. Right. So,
Yeah, yeah. Well, before I forget to ask you, if anybody watching this would like to reach out to you, what's the best way to get a hold of you? Is it Facebook, email, phone number,
yeah,
or a website of sorts?
yeah, all of the above. So if they type in at the real Jamie Hyde, and that's JMIE, as it says above my head here. This is video, right? This is going up in the group as video.
Yes,
HYDE, like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde.
like
That's where I'm
this.
at on Facebook and Instagram. I'm not real. Facebook's my biggest platform. My phone is 561-692-3637. Just ask anybody that wants to reach out, please text first. I don't answer if I don't know who it is, because I'm on Zoom right now 18 to 22 hours a week with clients and helping people and stuff. Yeah, thank you for putting that up. You're awesome. Yeah, I always take text messages. Just, let me know you heard it on the show or whatever. And the other thing, they wanted to schedule a 60-minute Zoom with me. Zoom with MrClarity.com. One of the guys in our group dubbed me Mr. Clarity last year because of my ability to have these visions and kind of give them good advice in the direction they might go. So I bought the URL Zoom with MrClarity.com. That'll take them to a calendar link to schedule a 60-minute Zoom call with me.
Awesome, awesome. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you just like to put out to the fellow group members? This show, again, it's all about just overcoming, just talking to people, hearing about their challenges, hearing what got them through their challenges, whether it's to give people peace of mind that there is an end to it all. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. And just also to give people maybe tips if they're going through something similar, or for the future, maybe they'll remember it if all of a sudden they're having problems that are similar in the future. Is there anything you just want to throw out there that you think could apply to them?
So the first thing I have everybody do when we meet, or in my first session, if they hire me, is we get into detail what they want their future life to look like. Right. So we started at age 85. This is theoretically the end of your life. Where do you live? What kind of house, color, size, like details, what kind of cars you want to drive, etc. Right. Throw all that into a mortgage calculator, no money down, 4% interest, and figure out roughly what's going to cost you to live that life. And throw 30% on it for taxes. So you just take that number, divide by 0.70. That'll give you your gross number. Right. And then multiply that out by 12 months and then divide that by 365 days. And that'll give you your daily goal. And then if you have a spouse or significant other, ask them to do the same thing. Write out in detail what they want their dream life to look like and see how similar or different it is to yours. And then negotiate or come together and create the dream. Right. Again, I'm not a Bible scholar, but it says something along the lines of where two or more come together and ask for it, it shall be done. It shall be given. There's power in the team. Right. And you come in an agreement that, hey, this is the life we want. My wife and I just redid it this weekend again for like the third time of what we want our future to look like. And then we say, okay, so instead of age 85, which is 30 years for us, like if we sit down and knock this out, when could we really accomplish this? So my wife and I came down to, because our operating agreement with our son is that of all the income that comes in, he gets a third, I get a third, and 1/3 goes back to the company to continue to grow and expand. Right. So we came up with a daily goal of $2,000 a day. So we sat down, which is 60,000 a month. Now, what sounds easier to obtain, 60,000 a month or 2,000 a day? Right. And the 2,000 is a much smaller bite, obviously. So we got serious about it, and we're like, okay, when can we reasonably obtain this goal? And if we put our head down, we can easily get there within 12 months. But we didn't want that much pressure, right? So we just said December 31st of 2024. That gives us 2 years and 9 months to hit that goal. We think we'll hit it in 12 to 15 months, maybe quicker. But we just wanted to put a reasonable date on it. I printed it out. It's actually above my monitor. You can't see it. It's tacked to the wall. The whole dream, the size house we want to live in, where we want to live, how much land we want. I'll just share it. If anybody wants an idea, right? 3,500 square foot house, 5 bedroom, 3.5 bath, modern farm style. Want a master bedroom, an office, 2 guest rooms, a gym, 2-car garage, 800 square foot pool house, lagoon style swimming pool, hot tub, sauna, outdoor kitchen with a 1,000 square foot pole barn. She wants a premium SUV. I want the new Ford Bronco and a truck. We're already got our order in our new Honda Goldwing this year. We want to join a boat club. We want to allow $100,000 a year to travel with. It's our dream. That's what we want. And we can do that on what equates to $700 a day for us, taking roughly a third of that 2,000, 2,100 a day. I said was the overall goal, and only had to triple it again because of my operating agreement with our son. $700 a day. If you have a digital product, it's $3,000, or your consulting program that's $10,000. I mean, you only got to sell one every 10 days, whatever, 14 days. I mean, it isn't that difficult if you do the work. So once you lock in that vision, which is the whole name of my program, as you can see, Vision Quest for Success. Once you lock in that vision with your partner, and then you just start taking the steps to achieve it, life doesn't have to be that difficult. It's us humans that complicate the hell out of it.
I love that. Yes.
That's it. Lock in your vision and just keep stepping towards it. And don't. And I'm kind of famous for saying never quit. Like never, never, never. If you go to my Facebook, you'll see it across my chest on my Facebook profile.
Cool picture.
Yeah, never quit.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, it was great getting to know you, Jamie. It was great getting to meet you, and I definitely hope this isn't the only time we get to talk over StreamYard or in person. But yeah, definitely make sure to comment on this when it comes out, and go ahead and share your links below. I'll have some in the description for everybody to click. But yeah, I hope you have an amazing future. Same with your son and your wife. And that business just takes off because you deserve it. You manifested it, you've done the work, and you're teaching people how to do the work. You deserve it. You're not, gatekeeping success,
Thank
so
you.
I like to see it. All right. Well, you have an amazing evening. I guess it's only 12:45 for us.
Back to work.
Okay. Bye, Jamie.